Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing retirees in Thailand. And I was recently reading a book, and I'd suggest folks who've never heard of it might want to check it out. It's by Steve Van Beek. The book is titled Bangkok Then and Now. It's really interesting. A lot of photos especially in there, but a lot of recounts, excerpts from newspapers from different times, like 100 years ago, but showing different parts of the city then and now, or now 10 years, maybe 20 years ago, but you know, modern to sort of, I won't say ancient, but sort of 100, turn of the last century, turn of the 20th century Bangkok. But there was an excerpt in this book, there was a paragraph that just really hit home to me, and I thought it really pertained to just sort of the kind of retiree paradox that sometimes happens to retirees here in Bangkok, or Thailand specifically. Quoting directly from this book, again, that's Steve Van Beek, Bangkok Then and Now, quoting, "While few Europeans ever envisioned retiring here, when the time came to go home to live out their final years, many found themselves surprised that their native land seemed as alien as them as Thailand had when they first stepped off the boat. Some retirees packed their possessions, looked around at the comfortable lives they had created for themselves, looked at their friends, Thai and foreign, and unpacked their bags, choosing to remain in the city which had become their home." Yeah, we see this a lot. I've noticed this with a number of folks that are on so-called expat packages, especially those that are sort of at the end of their tenure, and they think they're going home. A lot of folks, I mean, I've had a number of them sit in my office. I'm not laughing. I'm just simply saying it's kind of funny how many people go through this. And when I read this excerpt, I was just like, oh, wow, that's a little slice of life. A number of people oftentimes will, think they're heading back, and ultimately they decide not to. The reason for this video is it is kind of a paradox. I have noticed that with folks, especially folks that have, a little bit more corporate jobs, or oftentimes in academia here, they get sort of in a rhythm and then just are working here and living here. And one thing I've noticed that they don't really do is they never really have that reflection earlier on where they could have put themselves in a better position for retiring in Thailand. For example, and I've done a lot of videos on this, if you get about 5 years into living in Thailand and you say, hey, this is a pretty nice thing, depending on your circumstances, but if you have a good salary and you're in a stable job, maybe a good idea to look at filing for permanent residence in Thailand. Because once that is approved, if that individual is then, they then either leave their job, or God forbid they lose their job, or they just simply retire, their residence is secure. They are now resident in Thailand. They don't need to deal with visas if they have permanent residence in Thailand. And this can be a real benefit. And I definitely do see it quite frequently amongst the expats who work here, that they always think they're going to go back, and then lo and behold, a decade, 2 decades, sometimes 3 or more have gone by, and they just sort of say, even though they may still be thinking it up till they're almost about to get on the plane, they oftentimes say, you know what, I'm not going. And in my opinion, it might be better to think ahead to that moment, or the possibility of that moment, and get oneself sort of legally prepared, especially in terms of one's lawful status here in Thailand, so that one doesn't have that realization, and then they're kind of on their back foot for the rest of their time spent being retired here in the Kingdom of Thailand.